Welcome to Sports Biz with LD. I'm your host, Larry Davis, brought to you by Blue Chip Marketing and the Daily Blue. Let's get right into it. Yesterday, Brian Cashman, I think it was on Michael K, ESPN Radio, or maybe to one of the writers, brought up that he believes the Yankees should not have another captain. You know, Derek Jeter was the captain, and as we all know, Derek retired. I totally don't agree with Cash. I don't even know where he's coming from with that. I mean, if he's coming with total respect for Derek, that's great. But a captain's supposed to be a guy on any team in any sport who leads by example, talks to the guys, just the way David Wright the other day with Noel Syndergaard. The guy was eating lunch in the clubhouse, and Wright went right in there while the game was going on and was pretty much like, what are you doing? I mean, you don't eat during a game. And then Bobby Parnell, they said, fooling around but serious, took the plate and threw it in the garbage to teach him. And that's the kind of stuff a captain does. So without Derek there, could you say, yeah, there are other guys who will lead and don't need the C on their jersey? Absolutely. But if you go back in Yankee history, you're trying to say there's going to be no other person like Derek Jeter? And again, not to take anything away from Derek, he was great, but former captains for the Yankees from years ago, Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly, Ron Guidry, Willie Randolph, Greg Nettles, Thurman Munson. Everybody remember Thurman, the captain? Let's go way back. Lou Gehrig. And the one and only Babe Ruth. So if Cash is just saying that to give total respect to Derek, that's great. But I don't agree with that at all. I like captains in sports. Not like the way Rex Ryan did it when, he just made people captains and ends up blowing up in his face, like when he made Santonio Holmes the captain. I mean, what the heck was Rex thinking? That blew up in his face. I mean, I think he just gave him the captaincy to make him think, okay, maybe you'll do better. I'll make you captain and you'll be better. That was ridiculous. But I don't see it. Those names I named in Yankee lore, in Yankee history, were all great. Other teams have had great captains. And I know that Hal Steinbrenner came out yesterday and just said, pretty much, I didn't even give it much thought. And pretty much if that's all we're talking about, that's not so terrible today in Yankee land. I'm sure he meant because, of course, they're not talking about Aroyd, who went 1 for 2 in his debut. And, listen, surprisingly, I had said he's going to get cheers if he plays well. The few that were there, so here we go. This Yankee team, no one's coming out to see. Years ago, exhibition games, which were a joke many years ago, but now people go to exhibition games. They make like little vacations out of it. And you could definitely get closer to the players in exhibition games and in the neighborhoods in the states that they're doing, at the Grapefruit League where they're working out and training and playing these spring training games because the players are more accessible and not home, more security, less security. So, he came out and talking about Aroyd. So Aroyd goes 1 for 2, but when he got up, he got cheers. I personally don't get it. I don't know what you're cheering. And if you're an older person cheering, and what are your kids thinking, that it's okay to do what he did? Why? Because he said he was sorry. His sorry is just too late. I mean, listen, you do something wrong and you say you're sorry, it's one thing. Not the way he did it. When he dissed everyone and went after everyone, the way he did it was so out of control, and I can't give him any respect. I am not clapping for him unless he does something good. Sorry, that's me. But I was a little surprised. And the other thing I didn't bring up last week, reading in the paper, Yankees got tickets for $5, $10. Are you kidding me? The Yankees had, it was in the paper, you could buy tickets for as low as $5 and $10 a game. Is that where it is? Because the bottom line is they don't make the big money on ticket sales. It's all on sponsorships, TV, radio deals, Major League Baseball TV and radio deals. It's not made by putting people in the seats. That's not what the big money is. Yes, you want 3 million tickets and you sell that much, you're going to make money? Absolutely. That's not where the big dollars are. The embarrassment is when nobody's there. That's what they're afraid of. And that's why they're giving these tickets away. And probably have a record number of games where they give away items. We had Todd Costello on from PC Richards a couple of weeks ago. He's got 2 dates. You should have 1. PC's got 2. So Yankees are in trouble if they don't play well because people are not going to go to these games. Way expensive, and even your tickets cheap. It costs you so much money. And what are you going for? See them lose? But like I said last week, you go, 25-man roster of the Yankees, $215, $230 million later, they have a good team. Just they're old, they're brittle, and if they're injured, and that's the big thing in sports, in any sport on any team, if we stay healthy. Everybody loves their team going into the regular season in any sport. If you stay healthy, they're right. And if the Yankees stay healthy, Yankees got the best team, I believe. Even though you go to Vegas, and Vegas has on the odds that the Red Sox will win the pennant. That's what they're saying. Even though the Red Sox don't even have an ace, an ace pitcher. They don't have one guy. They let John Lester go and let him go to Chicago, which was their move. They didn't want to give him, I think he got like $150 million. I think they were offering $120, and then they spent all that extra money anyhow on other players. But listen, they feel they know what they're doing. The Red Sox have done very well in the last 5-10 years. They know how to win, so I'm not here to tell you what they're doing wrong. But the Red Sox are picked by Vegas to win the pennant. Yankees probably, a lot of people saying 85 wins. That team does what's on the back of the baseball card. That team's going to win a lot of games. But I just don't see it. Let's move on to the Mets. The Mets in the Grapefruit League. Today is a big day. It is the first day that Matt Harvey, that's right, the great Matt Harvey, coming back from Tommy John surgery, is going to be on the mound, facing live hitters. That's great. And he's facing the team that when he got hurt, Detroit. When he hurt himself and came out of the game, he was facing Detroit. Now he's going to start against Detroit. Big fan of Matt Harvey. He was dynamic. He was something to get excited about. The ratings spiked on the Mets station on SNY. The ratings spiked a little when Major League Baseball was on MLB channel or was on their game of the week. More people in attendance. Matt Harvey is one of those guys. If he comes all the way back from Tommy John surgery, which it seems like mostly everybody does, wow, that will be exciting. The Mets will have an ace, and the Mets will be the talk of this town, not the Yankees. With the pitching staff the Mets have, they might need another hitter, there's no doubt, but it's very possible that the Mets can do it. And if you got Matt Harvey, the ace of your staff, kind of like the Mets' chances. I'm excited about that, and I wish Matt well. He's a really nice guy, and he's the kind of guy you want to root for. So I'm sure the Mets are going to put up some nice numbers this year, and it's very possible the Mets will win more games than the Yankees. Let's move away from baseball. With the NFL coming up, big trade today for the Jets. Okay? The Jets get Brandon Marshall from the Chicago Bears for a 5th-round pick. And that's the thing in the NFL. You would think Brandon Marshall, very talented guy. Again, this is his 4th team since he's in the league. He's 31 years old. Had a bad year last year only because he was injured. This guy can play. This guy's a playmaker. And this year's his first year with the Jets, the big lights. He'll play well this year as long as he's not injured. He'll play well every year as long as he's not injured. He is a very good player. Jets are going to have to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback because that is a battle right there. But, much money, Mike McCagnon. That's right, much money is what I call him because the Jets have a lot of money on the cap, probably about $50 million. So I see this with him. I think, Brandon's going to make about $13 million next year. I think he's got, 2 years, like $24 million left on his contract. And we only in the NFL, nothing's guaranteed. He'll try to get some guaranteed money out of the Jets, but I'm sure they'll give it to him for the next 2 years. They'll definitely get rid of Percy Harvin because you're not going to keep him in a $10 million salary cap. You don't need him. And you got Brandon Marshall. You have Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker. Jets, like I said, you need a quarterback. They got a good defense. Maybe they go after C.J. Spiller. Now that Rex Ryan pretty much looks like he's going to exile C.J., and C.J.'s not going to come back to Buffalo after he makes a big trade with LaShawn McCoy from Philly. And LaShawn's saying he's not going to come play in Buffalo. He's just playing as he should, wants more guaranteed money. Things are rolling. Things are happening in the NFL before the free agency starts. Even though that's like baloney anyhow. I mean, free agency starts on Tuesday, so all of a sudden on the day the free agency starts, all of a sudden here's a deal, $5 million, $100 million, 3 years, $24 million. All these deals are done. What are they done as soon as the clock strikes 12 and all of a sudden they get done in an hour or so? Everybody's talking to each other. Who are we kidding? But, the Jets are coming out of it With much money, Mike, he's going to make a splash. He's a very good talent evaluator. We'll see how good Todd Bowles is as the head coach. Jets can have a team. Jets can make a splash. Listen, Jets got to be better than what they were. I mean, they were a laughing stock of football. And with Rex getting a new job, as everyone watched the show knows, I was not a fan of Rex. I believe he's defensive coordinator. I don't think he's a head coach. He's not. But get some talent up in Buffalo, see what they can do right in the Jets division. Jets need a quarterback. I'm sorry, I cannot see Geno Smith under center next year. I can't. And if the Jets are like, well, he's under contract, we didn't have anyone else. Are you kidding me? Everybody's better than Geno. Geno's terrible. Terrible. Gave him 2 years to do something. He hasn't done anything. In one game, the last game of the year, he played very well. Okay, big deal. Got over 2 years, over 30 starts, 25, 30 starts, do something. What has he done? The plays are terrible. His turnovers are terrible. It's not like you could see maybe try to. His plays are terrible. Not a fan of Geno Smith at all. He does not belong in the NFL, in my opinion. I'm sorry, Geno. You do not. Moving along, other NFL free agents, Ndamukong Suh. I mean, that is the big guy, and he's big. From the Lions, he's a free agent. A lot of teams can sign him. He wants to be the highest paid defensive player in the league. And last year, Darrelle Reeves got $16 million. J.J. Watts is the highest paid player. I think J.J.'s on a 6-year, $100 million deal. He wants more. The problem with Suh is all the things he does. He's always getting fined. He's always kicking another player. He should not have played in the playoffs last year. How they ended up playing was ridiculous. They ended up saying you're not playing, and then they said, okay, now you can play. That's ridiculous. But he ended up dominating that game even though the Lions lost. This guy's a dominant player. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if I give him all that kind of money the way he does it. I don't like that extra stuff he does. Doesn't belong. He gets fined. He'll miss a game. I don't like it. But he's a major guy. And the other major guy I look at in this is DeMarco Murray. I mean, just think about that. In one other sport, with the leading rusher, the guy had over 1,600 yards. 1,600 yards, led the league in rushing. And the Cowboys aren't going to re-sign him? They can't re-sign him? They decided to put the franchise tag on Dez Bryant? So now the leading rusher in the NFL, under 30, is 26 years old. It's not like he's saying he's over 30 and he doesn't have a year or two left, so let's get rid of him a year early and a year late, which is, I guess, what the Patriots do great at. Them getting rid of Vince Wilfork, another 11-year vet, and we'll get to him in a second. But DeMarco Murray, I mean, the number one rusher in the NFL is a free agent. That to me is huge. It's one of the biggest guys out there. I don't know where he's going, but that guy's huge. And then you have a couple of lesser guys. You got Randall Cobb of the Packers. Listen, play with Aaron Rodgers. Let's not forget, you play with Aaron Rodgers, you play with Peyton Manning, you play with Drew Brees. You play with guys at that level. They make you better. They pad your stats as long as you don't drop the ball. But Randall Cobb's good. How good is he if doesn't have Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball? That's the one thing teams are going to find out. Julius Thomas, the tight end with the Broncos. Again, there's another example. Yeah, he got open. Yes, he's a good player. Is he a great player? Because his numbers were just crazy with Peyton Manning. I mean, does that mean something? I believe it does. You have a great quarterback who can get people the ball and they throw 35, 40 times a game, even though you have other players vying for the ball, other receivers, even though he's a tight end, or even if you're Randall Cobb and you're a receiver, it's other guys to throw to. Those quarterbacks make you better. And vice versa. Have a great receiver, a Randy Moss, a Jerry Rice, and those guys, you look at Jerry Rice, had great quarterbacks. Had Steve Young and Joe Montana. It's probably a bad example. But you look at Randy Moss, gave Randall Cunningham the most unbelievable year ever. Unbelievable when he was with the Vikings. And of course, then Randy Moss went to Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and the two of them had record-breaking years. So a great receiver helps a great quarterback. Great quarterbacks make good receivers great. So we will see what happens with Randall Cobb. The team's probably with the most cap room. The Raiders, seems like they do every year, even though they stink. I look at Ndamukong Suh as a Raider. I mean, he's got Raider written all over him. The Raiders, the Jaguars, the Jets have a lot of money, as I said earlier, with much money, Mike. The Browns, and the Colts. And you think about the Colts with Andrew Luck, Reggie Wayne just was cut by them. I don't think Reggie Wayne's getting another job. Reggie had a great career, played with Peyton, played with Andrew. I don't think he's getting another job. You go back to what I said earlier, Vince Wilfork. Vince Wilfork coming back from an Achilles injury. Blew out his Achilles, didn't play, and he came back last year and played about 70% of the plays. 11-year veteran. Was cut by the Patriots, and what he said about that organization just shows you how great the organization is and how the NFL is. It is a business first, a game second. Not even a question. In any other sport, they're keeping all their great players. The NFL, you don't keep great players. Just doesn't happen that way. So those are the teams with the most cap room. To get back to the Colts, they got about $40 million to spend. And when you got Andrew Luck there with $40 million and Ahmad Bradshaw coming back, because I thought that really hurt them a lot. When Ahmad Bradshaw got hurt, the ex-Giant, that hurt. They had no running game. At least with him, they had a little bit of a running game. A guy who's won a couple of Super Bowls, knows how to catch the ball out of the backfield, and then you got Luck. After he got hurt, that was it. They had no one in that backfield. They could not do a thing, and every single play was Luck, Luck, Luck. Now, Luck's a great quarterback, but if everyone's just teeing off knowing you're going to throw on every down, that is not a good thing. So the Colts, with all that cap space, and who on the offensive side doesn't want to play with Andrew Luck? And on the defensive side, who wouldn't want to know that their quarterback is Andrew Luck, and you're in every game? Because how great Andrew Luck is, and he's totally on the upside of his career. He's under 25. So he's going to be there at least 8 to 10 years. And a great example that's the player that you keep. So there was one player that if you have a franchise quarterback, that's who they keep in the NFL. Franchise running back, receiver. If they don't put the franchise tag on him or get to sign him, you're done. And another thing in the NFL, you look like a Peyton Manning who restructured his contract because he wants to help the Broncos because he wants to win, and gives back $4 million, but can make it back in incentives. With knowing Peyton Manning, I'm sure they're very attainable incentives. They do that for the team. What other sport do they do that? I saw Damian Woody on ESPN yesterday saying, why do you got to do that? He's like, why does a guy got to give back his money? I see his point. Like Teddy Bruschi was on the show. I was like, well, what are you talking about? You're not a team player. And he's like, I'm a team player, but why is someone giving back their money? Let the team figure out how to make it better. So I see both sides of that, but if you're the quarterback and you want to win, you're Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning, which owns all the records, okay, and has a Super Bowl, even though everyone's like, you only have one. I mean, he's got one, but everybody's on him because he doesn't have more than one, and why wouldn't he want to win another? That's the whole plan for him and John Elway in Denver. And Gary Kubiak, who took over as the head coach, of course, is to win a Super Bowl. And they feel with the extra $4 million, they'd be able to get some of the pieces because they are, like I said, probably going to lose Julius Thomas, the tight end, but very replaceable because Peyton's so great and the Broncos system will make him great. Let's move on. Let's talk a little basketball. On a sad note, it seemed the last couple of shows, I guess the more people you know, unfortunately, the more people who pass, and it's just, it hurts. Anthony Mason, who I knew for years, did business with Anthony. Matter of fact, saw him probably 3-4 months ago. He passed away the other day. Mace was just a fun-loving guy. Everyone loved him. Really was the heart and soul of those Knicks teams. Him and Charles Oakley were those bruising guys during the Pat Riley era in the 90s, losing to Jordan, beating the Heat, but losing to Jordan all the time. I mean, he was just that guy who was always battling in there, and a lovable, lovable guy. And, he's not with us, 48 years old. You say it's not fair. He was very, very heavy, probably about 350 pounds. He's a big guy, probably 6'6", 6'7", maybe 6'8". But it's just sad. It makes you realize all this other stuff doesn't mean anything. Guy like Anthony Mason, just a fun-loving guy, very close with some guys I know, who are tight with, John Starks and Ewing and Herb Williams and that whole crew. And I saw them at John's event right around the All-Star game. And very sad. Very sad. We're going to miss Mace. Everyone will miss Mace. I don't know many people who didn't like him except you were on the other team and you only disliked him during the game. After the game, he was a fun-loving guy, played about 13 years in the NBA, almost averaged a double-double, had an all-star appearance when he was with the Heat, won 6th Man of the Year award with the Knicks. He'll be sorely missed, left 4 children. A couple of his oldest kids, I think, are playing collegiate ball as we speak. They're in college. Anthony Mason will be missed. One last note. Last week, we brought up when the show was going on that the Hammer, Hebrew Hammer, a good friend of the show, was fighting. So he fought last Friday night in Huntington at the Paramount. And like I predicted, a knockout for the Hammer. Okay? The Hammer is now 16-0 with 13 KOs. Had lunch with him the other day. He's ready. I told him. I said, Hammer, there's only one thing you got to do. I said, win. You can't lose. Once you get that L in the loss column, it's going to be tough in the world of boxing. You continue to throw that shutout and you don't lose to anybody, you're going to win. And let me tell you, that place was sold out of the Paramount in Huntington. Great venue for a fight. Crowd was on his side. Wonderful night. Great night. You know, Hammer's got a little shoulder problem, he told me. Hurt his shoulder, might need surgery. But he's coming back. He's looking to fight 3-4 times a year. So the Hebrew Hammer, Cletus Selden. I love that. He told me, everywhere you go, I'd like you, Larry, just to come and announce me whether I walk in the store or I go to a restaurant. Like he's walking into the ring. I told him no problem. I also told him next fight, I'm going in the ring with him after the fight. Everyone gets in the ring afterwards. I said, first I want to come in with you and your entourage as you're walking into the ring. The cameras are on you. And this was televised by ESPN2. ESPN2's probably got 10 million people watching. Does everybody watch? I didn't say that. But there's over 10 million people who have ESPN2 in their home. Maybe more. Maybe I'm wrong. I want to do it when they're all coming in and the fighters are walking into the ring and he's got his entourage behind him. I want that, I told the Hammer. And I said, when he wins, I want to be the people who get into the ring with the Hammer. So, good friend of the show. We're proud of you, Hammer. And we'll get you back in here in studio maybe before your next fight so we can help you sell some tickets. Not that you need us to help you sell some tickets. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening. I want to thank Daily Blue Chip Mark, and want to thank my boy Mikey on the other side of the glass. Without him, it makes me look good, makes me hear good, makes everybody be able to see me. We'll see you next week. Sports Biz with LD. I'm Larry Davis.